Welcome back, my beautiful people, to This Week in Review. I'm going to get right into today's question. And today's question is, Fernando, I'm struggling with my short-term rental. We're advertising on Airbnb, and we like to know what tips can you give us to boost our performance on the platform. First of all, I'm hoping that you're not just advertising on Airbnb. You should be advertising at a bare minimum the top three, which is VRBO, Booking.com, and Airbnb. But specifically on Airbnb, which depending on your area, you don't mention where you're from, it's going to probably be your number one booking platform. Again, the top three, VRBO, Booking, and Airbnb, really depends on A, the type of property you have, and B, your area. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Booking.com is the number one booking platform. It's usually used more if you're in South America and in certain parts of Europe. They're going to use Booking more than they'll use any other platform. But if you're in the US, Canada, and a few other places, Airbnb has become the number one booking platform, with VRBO in certain areas of the states, like Colorado, and the type of property that you currently have is quickly moving up. Now, there's a lot of other platforms that I've mentioned before. I'm not going to mention today, but there's a lot of other platforms that are quickly making some noise in the industry. So, again, I highly recommend that you advertise on multiple platforms, and more importantly, that you have either at a bare minimum, a channel manager to help you manage these different platforms, or a PMS system. Okay, so let me give you the tips. Now, there's a couple I'm going to give you, but the big three, and if you follow this channel, you know what the big three are. Number one is going to be on Airbnb is making sure that you qualify for that guest favorite badge. A guest favorite badge, or as Airbnb likes to call it, the guest favorite program, is very important, and it's one of the things that they're currently pushing out to potential guests, because these short-term rentals are proven short-term rentals. If you're brand new, you're not going to have this badge, but as you start to advertise, as you start to perform and prove yourself as a worthy host, then you can earn this badge. One of the biggest things you can earn today in terms of that will boost your performance. Number two is making sure that you're setting. Now, these are not in particular order, with the exception of the guest favorite badge. That really should be your priority, is to get that. But number two is making sure that you are advertising in advance, at a bare minimum 9 months in advance. The numbers tell us that 9 month is important, and I don't know why why it's important to Airbnb, that nine month window or booking window, but for some reason it is. Now, we like to advertise up to 12 months. We've done that since day one, but the point here is that you have to advertise way in advance. And then the next most important thing that's going to help you boost your numbers is your cancellation policy. I said this a lot, I'll say it again. You should have a flexible cancellation policy. Now, today, there's what's called a super feature. And that super feature allows you to offer a non-refundable option, and you'll give the guest a 10% discount, but that reservation is non-refundable, and a refundable option with the flexible cancellation. Here's why that's important, right? More and more people, I can't express this enough, they're looking for this flexible option. Secondly, Airbnb wants you to give them that flexible option, so they're going to use that to promote you. If you have that option, they're going to promote your listing. But like I mentioned before, I would highly recommend you offer the non-refundable option, even though there's a 10% discount on it. You offer that because people will book it And if they cancel for whatever reason, then you're covered. So I highly recommend that. And those are the big threes. Now, I'm going to give you 6 other things you can do to boost your performance. Not necessarily, these next 6 don't necessarily give you a boost within Airbnb, meaning the platform isn't pushing your listing, but it does help greatly in terms of conversion. So number 1 is obviously going to be your pictures. You need to be taking great pictures. They need to be what I refer to as experience pictures. So that's one. Then your money shot, right? The picture that's going to be shown, you know, your I call it the money shot, but it's also your eye-catching cover or something that's going to grab the attention of that potential guest. That picture needs to be phenomenal, right? And don't make the mistake of just putting the standard stuff like a picture of a living room, picture of a bedroom, right? That money shot could be something unrelated to your property. It can be for a beach that you're close to. It can be something, an amenity that you have on the outside. Try to make that picture unique so that you stand out. It's something that pops. That's why I call it the eye-catching cover. Make sure you have that. Then, big one for SEO optimization is making sure you're using keywords within your property, especially the property name. Now, remember, unlike in the past, you know, having or naming your property and having a catchy name used to be something that we recommended. Today we don't, because Airbnb doesn't put that out anymore. But you still should have keywords within your listing that can be picked up on SEO. Next is going to be your description. Here's where I'm going to be a little controversial, because there's a lot of people that'll tell you that you should be very creative, your description should be very attractive. But here's the problem: nobody's reading that crap, right? I am of the belief that you should just highlight your best amenities within your what's referred to as the description section. But when you're defining and talking about the property itself, your space and all that, that's where you can be creative. That's where you can be as long as you want to be, because by then, if someone's there, they're already you already caught their attention and they're already interested in your property. So, but the only way you're going to do that is by, in my opinion, is by highlighting in bold lettering or in numbers or in italics, you know, whatever it takes, highlighting your amenities, right? For me personally, I travel a lot. As you see by my videos, especially in the last 4 or 5 months, I'm rarely in the same place when I do these weekend reviews. So if it's not one of my properties or one of my clients' properties, if I'm going to a new place, I'm going to look for properties that I never read. I want to know because I know the amenities that I need and that I want, and I just want to see that. Once I see that, then I'll go deep into it to see, you know, are there any restrictions or all the other ancillary stuff that I look for, like washer and dryer and stuff like that. But I first need to see the top amenities that I'm looking for before I even click on it. Next is the last 2 things is making sure that you're listing the amenities that you currently have and that everything in your listing is accurate. In the last year, Airbnb has been requiring different things, like, for example, identifying and specifically putting where your cameras are. If you have noise detectors, identifying and specifically putting where those are located within your property. But in terms of amenities, making sure that you have those amenities and that the amenities that you currently are offering are accurate. And the last thing is, and this is something that I'm a big fan of, I highly recommend to my clients, is adding AI or any type of photos, like doing a tour of photos, not only within your property, but a tour of your area, right? There's a lot of AI tools that allow you to do this, but I highly recommend that you add that to your listing. Anyway, hope that answered it. That's how you're going to boost your performance, especially and specifically on Airbnb. So now let's get into our revenue. We're in the peak of summer. We're into the month of July, which, as I mentioned, it is the highest grossing month for most hosts. It is the #1 travel month worldwide. So currently for this month, currently for this past week, we made $45,420. We have 261 bookings. Here's the big one. We're back at over 80% occupancy rate. If you looked at our occupancy rate in the last 2 to 3, let's say the last 4 weekend reviews, I mentioned we're going into summer. These occupancy rates are going to start to creep up. And my goal is always to be between 75 and 85, and we're right smack in the middle. And as a result of that too, our average daily rate has gone up. We're at $174, and our Repar has gone up as well at $139. Now, revenue by platforms this past week, Airbnb took the #1 spot at $31,000. Booking came in at $4,500. We came in at $4,000. Marriott came in at $3,500, and others at $2,300. Repar by property, Seahorse is at $264. Our 2 Cottage Oasis is at $274. The Loop is at $256. That's big. Fort Lauderdale, $263. Fort Lauderdale is at $248, and all others are at $111. Now, interesting with the Repar numbers, as we go into summer, these properties that I just mentioned that have that are leading in terms of Repar numbers, these properties are all within the city of Fort Lauderdale, with the exception of one which is up in Lake Worth. But they're within the city of Fort Lauderdale, and they're all have pools, and they're all closest to the beach, right? Not necessarily on the beach, but they're closest to the beach. Again, when people are looking to especially for summer, and they're coming to South Florida or anywhere where it's hot, they want to be near water. So that's why these numbers are up, and that's why for the first time, I believe in the last 6 months, we got some new properties that are leading in Repar. Because if I recall from last week in review, Miami's always #1. My Miami properties are always up there. Some of my Fort Lauderdale properties, but not these specific properties. All right. In terms of staffing, nothing to report staffing. In terms of issues that came up this week, I do want to talk about one big issue. So we had a guest that came from Marriott, and the guest locked himself out at 1 a.m. Now we have a protocol when there's an issue with our electronic locks and a guest calls us and says they're having issues, and we can't troubleshoot it over the phone, or we determine that there is a malfunction with the phone, malfunction with the lock, then we give them access to the lockbox so they can use keys. In this particular case, what ended up happening was the guest did not call us, they called Marriott. Marriott did not call us. Marriott told the guest to call the police. Why, I have no idea, but to call the police. The police can't do anything. So the police showed up and told the guest, we can't do anything, you should call the locksmith. The guest called the locksmith. The locksmith gained entry into the property, but the locksmith charged the guest $600 to do so. The next morning, we received a message from the guest, a written message, not a phone call, but a written message from the guest explaining what happened and requesting a refund for the lockout. Well, we're not giving a refund for the lockout because the guest, A, didn't call us. Marriott didn't call us, so we notified Marriott and told Marriott it's their responsibility to refund the guest because we were never involved and weren't aware of this lockout until the following morning, which by then it was too late. They'd already gained access. And had they called us, we could have looked at to see what was wrong with the lock itself, and it turned out that they jammed the lock. So it was an issue that the guest created to begin with. But we could have rectified that had that guest called us directly. Don't know why the guest didn't call us, and they called Marriott. I'm assuming that this is that guest's first time actually booking a Marriott property like ours, because their first instinct was to call Marriott, which I kind of understand. But the issue here is that it wasn't our responsibility, or refunding them is not going to be our responsibility because we could have resolved it without having to call a locksmith. It's as simple as me giving them the code to the lockbox, they get the keys and going inside. So that's something that you may come across. And as long as you're covered, meaning as long as you did everything within your policies and procedures and you're within policy of the platform, don't lose money, right? You know, the platforms also bear responsibility because it's actually the platform's guest. You're using your property. So in this particular case, Marriott's going to go ahead and refund that guest because again, it was their responsibility to follow proper protocol. And I don't know if calling the police is their protocol. If it is, they need to change it because it's not a police matter. And again, had they called us, we would have resolved this issue. Project progress, really nothing to report in project progress. We're still doing the same thing. Again, this is peak summer, so we're working our butts off. I've been doing a lot of short-term rental optimizations. We've gotten a lot of clients. It's really interesting to see how many mom and pop operators out there that for a long time were just winging it. We're just, really not fully understanding how to be good hosts or how to run a good short-term rental business. And now that the competition is super high, they're realizing that they need help. So if you're that person and you are struggling to maintain an 80% occupancy rate on your property, struggling to make revenue on with your short-term rental property, then give us a call and let's collaborate, let's team up. In addition, just a reminder, our sponsor Dream Vacation, they have tons of new offers, especially for cruises or people that are looking to cruise in 2025. For example, I personally have booked 3 cruises in 2025 and one towards the latter part of this year. The rates are super good. So if you want any information on any type of travel, just hit me up. Hope this information was useful. If it was, I love you guys. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Follow me on Instagram. Buy me a coffee if you want to chat. See you on the next one.